Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, it used to be there, it stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. So just to clarify, the pledge counts even though there was no flag present. I'll ask for a motion to seal the minutes of our executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Welcome to our August 28th Tiverton School Committee meeting. We have one person signed up for open forum. Ms. Odell? Do you want to speak at the podium? So if you sign up for open forum, you can come up and address the committee for 3 minutes. Do you want to do that now? Or there is actually, this is coming up in the open, or in the new old business agenda, and you will have an opportunity to make comments.
Yes.
You want to do it now? You'll do it then? Okay. That usually works better. All right. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All those in favor? Dr. Sanquioni?
Abstaining,
You're
please.
abstaining. Okay, one abstention, 4 in favor. Dr. Sanquioni?
Personnel action, we have resignations. A computer science teacher, Jay Zaro, and a social studies teacher, Lindsay Richards. Under appointments, we have an interim assistant principal at the middle school, Sharia.
Wait a minute, you just said resignation. It was a leaves of absence.
Leave of absence, right. I thought I said both. Do
Leave of absence.
you want me to redo that, Mr.?
It's under resignations, retirement, and leave of absence.
Right.
So that's the category under the agenda. But yeah, why don't you?
Okay. Specifically, a leave of absence for computer teacher, Jay Zaro. Specifically, a leave of absence for social studies teacher, Lindsay Richards. Under appointments, we have an interim middle school assistant principal, Cherie Alves, a district data manager, Alice Ambrosio, part-time lunch recess office TA, Lynn Marcuti, remedial math teacher, Rita Tartar, a guidance counselor, Sarah DeMello, academic support specialist, Catherine Johnson, level 2 custodian, Craig Higginbottom, physical education health teacher, Lauren Carr, assistant football coach, William McGreedy, Jorge Pessoa, baseball head coach, Jorge Pessoa, field hockey assistant coach, Christine Messenger, softball head coach, Joshua Mello, volleyball coach, Carrie Russo, cheerleading coach, Susan McDermott.
Okay, thank you. Under correspondence, we had a letter from the Tiverton String Camp. And I will now ask for a motion to approve the contracts of the data manager, middle school vice principal, and yeah. They were in executive, so we can do that. Yep. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry? The contracts for the vice principal and the data manager, it's listed under executive session, so it's taken up under executive session, and then the vote technically has to be taken in open session. Okay. We have old business, charter review, Mrs. Black. Wait down on microphone.
I went to the Board of Canvassers meeting where they accepted the 8 charter proposals from the council, and at the same time, the CRC, the Charter Review Commission, had passed in their 20 that they wanted to be on there. So I made copies for the school committee of their 20. Remember, they had their top 40, then they had their 20. So they did submit those, so I wanted everyone to have those. But when the 8 are officially made and printed at the town hall, I'll bring them and present them to the, but I would like us to please refer the 20, we said we were going to do that at the end, to our solicitor, so we can just look them over, start looking them over, in case we need them, okay? We had said, they had 100 and some at the beginning, remember? And we said we weren't going to submit all
Yeah.
of those, because that would be a waste of time and money for the solicitor to look at those. But possibly, he could look at the 20. And, because I see a lot of them, in my opinion, are not legal, federally.
So you want to refer the top 20 of the?
Yeah, just to give them to them. They don't have to look at them yet, just so they'll have a copy in case we need them to look at it. We said at the beginning of this process that's what we were going to do when they were finalized, and they're now finalized. There's 8 from the council, and there's 20 from the Charter Review Commission.
But those 20 aren't going to be on the ballot, as far as I understood it.
No, they're not, but they could, we don't know what's going to happen, so, you know.
So is your concern that if they get elected in November, those 20 could, at some point, appear on a ballot of their choosing?
Or
No,
before
there's-
that, some other action could be taken. We don't know what's going to happen. If you want to wait, we can, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I
But let's
mean,
just
that-
hold, make sure we hold them, though. We have to hold
Yeah,
them.
I was going to say, let's
Yeah.
make sure we
We
hold
have
them,
to
just so
hold
we have them,
and
yeah.
because we don't want to make more copies, waste more money and
No,
paper
agreed.
and all. We
Yeah.
really don't. And so let's hold those aside, and then we'll
Well,
have them. It's very important to
As much
hold
as
those.
I want our attorneys to prosper, I'm not sure I want them to prosper on sort
Okay.
of some of the stuff generated by the CRC. So, yeah, I certainly if they start to make a move towards putting some of those up that affect the school district directly, then we would, I think, want them to.
And many of them do. Many
assist
of
us
them
with.
do.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
right now, as far as I know, there's only 8.
There's
from
8 that
the
are going
council,
forward.
correct?
Mhm. And when I get a copy of that officially, then as I said, I'll bring that forward to everybody.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thanks, Sally.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Black, for your
Where's my little,
tireless,
I thought you were giving me a little trophy, a tiny one.
after the election.
Okay, thank you.
But we do appreciate your tireless and diligent attendance of those meetings.
And Mrs. Levesque was also with me all winter, so that was very good to have a companion. Thank you.
It's good to have friends in trouble, or when you're in trouble, not friends in trouble. All right. So Superintendent's Goals Meeting 9/22, we had discussed at the last meeting a half-day sort of retreat to discuss superintendent goals. That's a Saturday in September, and I just want to confirm that that was still okay with everybody, in particular Deb, since you weren't here last time.
Yes.
Looking at your phone, and
Yes.
your phone says yes?
Yes.
Anybody else
Yes.
still good for the 22nd?
Yes.
Peter, you're still good for the 22nd?
Rough time or to be determined?
9 to 12? Okay.
Thank you.
So let it be written, so let it be done. All right. Refer the policy subcommittee regarding student liaison to the school committee. So this was something we had discussed briefly at our last meeting, and Dr. Sanquioni provided us some guidance from the policy in Massachusetts that was in Natick. As Massachusetts law actually requires student representation, Rhode Island has no such law, and as I was saying at the last meeting, I believe that actually it would require a charter change for us to appoint someone to this committee, even without vote, because the composition of this committee is actually defined by the charter.
I think we could probably have a non-voting, like, liaison that we
So,
wouldn't-
well, that's what I was
yeah.
getting at, was that what I would recommend we do, and I think we have to have policy written to govern it, is that we ask, the student council to appoint a liaison to the school committee. We can do that, I think, within the charter, and, sort of come up with a plan.
Is that Dr. Sanquioni's line of thinking? We don't have anything here to speak to it. That it be
liaison.
Right.
from
Yeah,
the
so-
student council at the high school, or?
Well, what I shared with you was, I gave you the Massachusetts law, and then I sort of internalized it, how it was implemented in one district. So that's a suggestion at best. but it seems like it's a good way to go about doing business, where the students sort of elect their own representatives.
Right.
You have a couple use, again, just for comparison's sakes, a senior and a junior, so you always have comparison. One kid rolls over every year, sort of trains the new kid. I would suggest you put their report early in the agenda, because they want to go home and you want to have them prepared for school the next day, and that type of thing.
Well,
But
why don't we, maybe, at our, we haven't had a policy subcommittee meeting, I'm sure we'll have one, start hashing out the details and bring it back? Is
Yeah, that was my,
Fine.
that's what why I brought it in that way, because I think we have to have policy to govern the,
But I would like to have something in writing as far as what your thoughts are, so that when we go to policy, we have it in front of us that that's what you'd like to see, and then we'll write the policy around it.
I thought that's what your
I
email
don't want to
said.
second
That's what he
guess.
gave us.
Well,
Did you get the email?
That's what,
We just got the email with the Massachusetts law.
well, that's
Oh.
what, yeah,
And
and
it's-
Jerry, you saying build the policy around that?
Around
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Do you want something more specific?
I would like, at the very minimum, a memo from you or from other members of the committee whose idea this might be, to say, we'd like to consider 2 members from the student council to be voted, if that's what your thinking is. Then we can go to the policy subcommittee, put a policy together in those
Okay.
lines and move forward. I don't think we're going to be able to really do much of anything with the Massachusetts guidelines that we were given. So
Okay.
it's really more internal.
All right. Dr. Sanquioni, could you give us
Yeah,
some
I'll,
representation of what you think would be the
happy to
best
do it.
approach to this
Yep,
thorny issue?
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Consider it done.
All right. 8D, construction update. Dr. Sanquioni, do you want to do this, or you want me to do it?
I'm actually going to, well, Mr. Mendes was here to help
Mr.
do that, but
Mendes.
certainly you're
The
qualified.
elusive
Is
Mr.
anyone today?
Mendes. Don't leave the podium until,
I was scared as I walked in the building.
You were
let's let him
scared?
speak.
Don't be scared, it's safe.
Don't be scared.
It's safe to be in here.
Not because just all the stuff like.
That's nothing. It's been
Oh,
worse than that
that's
in this
nothing.
building. Much worse than that. As of right now, all the rubber membrane has been put down on both buildings. The fascia is done in most parts of this building. Middle school, the fascia has been painted as per contract. The metal edging in this building has been put on. Within the next couple weeks, they'll be putting the metal edging on the middle school. It's different companies doing both roofs, so as they get the material, they'll be doing that. All the classroom, all the main ductwork is in. The ventilation system's been put in on the roofs already. Air conditioners will be up and running for the start of school. That have the air, need the air, like computer labs and stuff like that. The boiler system is not in place as we speak, but it will be in place. They have to pour, in this building, they have to pour a cement pad to set the units on by code, because they need to have it raised above the floor level. As soon as that's done, they're gonna be bringing the units in, putting the boilers in, putting them in place, they're gonna pipe them all together, which from next Wednesday on, they'll be working nights like they did in the fall. They will not be working during the day at all, while students are in this building. They're just touching up ductwork. The the new ceilings are done in all the classrooms. Obviously, you can see it here, and new lighting. The hallways, I'm getting by Friday, and by this weekend, we'll have the hallways clean and ready for students on Tuesday. The hallways will have lights. The fire alarm system for safety will be in place. The tiles themselves will not be, they'll be done during school, well, after school and, after the school day, they'll be putting them in. Because there's some ductwork they still have to connect. And that's how we'll proceed until the end. But everything will be safe for the students to come back.
Thank you.
So
Any questions? Sure.
the floor tiles that you're saying are not yet
No.
finished, it's not floor tiles, ceiling?
It's ceiling tiles.
Okay, so all floors are done. What has to be done, before the kids enter on Tuesday?
The hallways. Right now, we're down to hallways and a few classrooms.
But most
And that-
classrooms are done.
All,
hallways are done.
all big classrooms are done. They're working tonight, working on classrooms. They got
Right.
music apart. They're working on music here, the music at the middle school, art rooms and stuff like that, they're working on.
So ceilings at middle school, those second floor hallway where we've been going up to hold our meetings?
Yes.
The ceilings were still open last week.
Right, they will,
Will they be closed?
they will have the ceiling grid, the new lights.
Okay.
The fire alarm system set up, but no tiles
Panels,
themselves.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And this building will be the same?
The
about
same way, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What about the stuff outside?
That's all going to be cleaned up by Allbach.
Before school starts?
Pardon me?
Before school starts?
Before school starts. The landscaping will be done before school starts. They're having a guy, the company coming in on Saturday, I believe they told me, that they're going to be coming on Saturday, regrading where they destroyed, putting hydro seed down, and then going to bury it off so people don't walk over fresh seed.
So custodians probably will be working this weekend?
Yes, unfortunately,
And and the Allborg company is going to pay for that overtime expense, aren't they?
they've been paying right along,
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
because the gentlemen were working every weekend.
Good.
Any other questions?
And you guys, come on up, it's your buildings if you have concerns.
So, thank
I mean,
you.
we're still talking.
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
thank you,
Just
Mr. Mendes.
come
Just
on
to
up.
sort of summarize a little bit of this. So, Mr. Mendes, myself, and Dr. Sanquioni had an opportunity to walk both buildings today. And the status of things is that the classrooms are all done. Some of them are still in the process of being cleaned. The hallways will be done with the exception of some of the ceiling tiles have not been placed and will not necessarily be placed before the start of school. All the roofing work is done, but they're still doing the edging. Friday is, for want of a better word, evacuation day, where the construction company is moving out most of the equipment that would be an obstruction to school, and they'll be doing a lot of landscaping and repair of the sort of things got affected during the construction process. There is also an assessment by the building inspector and by the fire marshal on Friday as well.
Good.
So the and Allberg has been very steadfast and very sensitive to the fact that school needs to open, and has continued to give assurances that they're going to get there. They don't have concerns about being able to get there, despite, I guess, some of the appearances right at the moment. But the buildings will still be under the process of renovation, as they were through most of the spring this year. And this is really, the only practical way you could approach a project of this scope and necessity while still being able to use the buildings for the important work of school. So, Amy? Yep.
Amy Mullen, NEA Tiverton. What about the safety of the students that will be staying after school?
We will find out what areas they are in. We will cordon off where the workers will not be working at all. They will be not allowed to work in that area until the students are done, and then they'll go in later on in the evening to do whatever they have to do in those areas.
I've heard a lot about the safety of the students when school opens. How about the safety of the teachers when we report to school tomorrow?
Mr. Mendes, you want to take that one?
The safety of the schools will be safe. We're giving you an area where we know is safe for you. Everything will be cleaned out. There won't be any tripping hazards or anything like that. Bathrooms will be provided in an area. So everything will be safe, but the fire alarm has never been shut off the entire summer. So I've had many calls for fire alarms in this building, both buildings. So we are safe. We are safe right now.
Okay.
Good job.
The teachers would like to know when they can get into their classrooms during the day for setup on Friday. When can they get into their classrooms?
Yep. You can answer all the
I
questions.
know the answer. We will be working, they cannot go in Friday to classrooms because they'll be working in hallways, trying to get them done. Monday morning, holiday week, I'm opening the building at 8 a.m. and closing it
That's
at 2
crazy.
p.m.
That's crazy.
And that is the time you can come in. I cannot do the hallways with people walking in them, stepping on them. They will be falling. There'll be a hazard. I do not want anybody in here. And that's the only time I have. If you don't give me that time, well, we're going to have to live with unclean floors for a year.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mendes.
Is there any way the hallways could be done on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, I don't be done Saturday and Sunday. I need Saturday and Sunday to drive. I cannot drive with you.
I'm Christina Holman. I work at the middle school. I was in my room, and I'm just letting you know what is going to happen on Tuesday when the kids come in. My desks are stacked 2 by 2. I have a stack of chairs that big. I have to get locker. When you come into school, the desks are in nice rows. We put agenda books on the desks. We get lockers assignment. I'm not going to work on a federal holiday. How am I going to get that done if I can't get in the school on Friday? How is that safe for me to have to
You guys,
take the
we're not
kids?
gonna solve this here today. What I probably am gonna suggest, Amy, if it's okay with you, is probably have Amy and Kristen and their representatives work with Dr. Sanquioni, and you guys discuss it, come up with a plan, and, I mean, if that includes having to delay, then that includes having to delay, but I don't think we're gonna solve it here tonight. So.
But I don't think it's fair to ask teachers to come in on a holiday.
But I don't think we're going to solve it here tonight. It's not on the agenda for that, but I would very much like all of you to meet with Peter.
And I just wanted to paint a clear picture of, I was in my classroom. I know what's there. I'm not upset with it.
Well, we've been in the buildings as well.
Right,
so,
but
yep.
when
That's why I said, we're not
Okay.
going to solve it tonight.
Okay.
but
I just wanna be sure you're aware.
We hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mendes. So item
Thank you, Mike.
8E, Pocasset multi-grade teacher, first and second grade. Dr. Sanquioni?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Ms. Riley?
This was, I'm going to tee this up for Miss Riley. I think it was either the first or second week I was working here. I met with Miss Riley, and I was going through all the staffing at all our schools and checking out class sizes and so forth. And we came across a situation where her first and second grade are overcrowded as currently constituted, but not overcrowded to the point where you'd add an extra teacher to each grade level. And so we just started dialoguing about potential solutions. And one of those that came to our sort of our brainstorming was the idea of a multi-grade classroom, which is a concept that I've worked in the previous district I worked in. It's research-based, it's scientifically based. It's based upon the idea that a teacher then who has a child for a couple years or sees the progression of curriculum over a couple years, it helps reduce redundancies, omissions, repetitions, and it really ensures mastery. And again, I've sent you an email on July 6th with some of the research based behind that. It's a proven factor. So the more Mrs. Riley and I dialogued about this, it really presented itself as an ideal education to solution to this problem we were having here. And I think it's important for me to articulate that although it solves a numbers problem, we wouldn't execute it unless it solved an educational problem. And I have to put that at the forefront for you, that this is a solid educational program that will serve these kids exceptionally well. It's something that, may be a model for potential use down the line. And so we felt very comfortable about that. So I want to put that on the table, that this was something that I brought to Ms. Riley. She actually worked in the same type of program in a district that she had worked in, so we both have experience with it in schools that are working exceptionally well. So with that as sort of the precursor, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Riley. She's got a presentation to kind of take you through some of the other facets behind this.
So we did a lot of research on this. As Dr. Sanquioni said, I have taught it in my previous district, and it is a research-based scientific method that really promotes the strengthening of learning as well as it does in a regular ed classroom as well. It's a child-centered approach that accommodates all our learners in a high academic setting. It's promoting collaboration, self-development, and taking initiative. It allows a teacher, again, as Dr. Sanquioni said, to build strong relationships with each student and to identify unique areas for growth and opportunity for each in the setting not restricted by the grade level material. The multi-age environment enables our children to learn at their own development, yet still follow the pacing of our rigorous curriculum while increasing the opportunities for the cross-grade interaction, which comes to play when children are on any kind of sports team, any kind of Little League team. They're all cross-grade, and they learn at their skill level. They play at their skill level. They don't, they're not told you have to be on a grade 8 team or a grade 1 team. Students not only benefit from the academic challenges of the integrated curriculum, but also the growth in character that comes along with developing new skills in the problem solving, conflict resolution, collaboration, empathy, responsibility, and leadership. Multi-age classrooms are highly structured, and they're just structured differently that most parents are not used to, especially here in this district. What you're going to see in my multi-age classroom or our multi-age classroom, same kinds of learning strategies. You're going to see the whole group and the small group. You're going to see shared and guided reading, model writing with the writer's workshop. You're going to see developmental and guided math. You're going to see the modeled and discovery science with our new amplified curriculum. You're also going to see a lot more small group where there's more guided reading, guided math, guided science instruction, literature circles. You're going to see a variety of guided experiences in the other contents, such as STEM, such as social studies. There's also a lot of discovery, blended learning, and proficiency-based learning in all the content areas. The classroom setup is centered-based, project work-based, and inquiry studies. The rationale, as again Dr. Sanquioni has said, it's research-based, it's considered a best practice model. It's very supportive of the Title I and social emotional learning education best practices, and we at Picasset are the only Title I elementary school in the district, and we have a lot of social emotional needs. Class sizes, again, he said, as Dr. Sanquioni pointed out, it allows our grade 1 and 2 classrooms to sustain smaller class sizes. So instead of going up to the 25, which I had in the beginning, the classes are down to a size of 20. And then it keeps our Picasset families together. It avoids the redistricting, which some people have mentioned. And it also doesn't split our families. We had 2 to 3 families this year that were split. I had one student in my building, and the other sibling had to go to another building. So we just want to keep the families together. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Oops, sorry. Ms. Balish.
So Deanne, both all your 1 and 2 classes now are going to be, or is this just one? I mean, just
Nope, it's just one
One,
classroom.
that's what I thought.
Yep, I have 2 first grades, 2 second grades, and a multi-age.
And did you, was there, how did you kind of, were you looking at a better fit for certain kids for the multi-age?
Yes.
Is that what you were?
Yeah.
I
was
think
looking
what I
at,
heard.
have, like I said, a lot of social emotional, where we see a lot of potential in our students, but they're either shy or and this kind of environment promotes that, so that the older kids can be leaders and the little kids can be looking up and, you know, want to do what the bigger kids are doing, and it just, I taught it for 4 years, and I really, really loved the
Oh,
experience.
that was my other question. Thank you.
Yeah, I really loved the experience. I saw my students grow. I had the data behind it where my students showed great growth, and I do have a couple of success stories where a couple of my students were the low of the low when I got them, but they didn't, it's mostly because they didn't want to be in school, and they found a peer in their classroom, a second grade peer, and that first grader the second grader latched onto my first grader, and my first grader soared. He was like, I want to do that. Well, if you want to do that, then you need to follow, you need to do what you need to do, and then we can move you forward. And that child today is in the top 10% of his class right now.
And
A couple of them.
I think one of the things I'm going to, we'll come back on, but that I know we've had a lot of issues with redistricting. And it's nice to hear potentially it could be a solution to that, because it's hard when you have either split siblings or someone who's 1-2 and now, because of the shift in population. So I definitely will be interested to see, have you already seen like that impacted where you potentially would have had to have moved someone and you were able to keep, okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Riley, how were the students selected to be part of the multi-age classroom?
I looked at a lot of different factors. I looked at social emotional, I looked at grading, I looked at their work with peers. A lot of different factors went into play when I did look at them. Academics was another piece. There is a variety of children, it's heterogeneous. I do have, it ranges from special ed, ELL, to regular ed students. So it's not an exclusionary, just, your average student. It's a range, just like a regular classroom.
Okay.
But just looking at the specific needs of different students.
Okay, thank you.
Question, have you been in touch with the parents on this? Are they aware?
Yes, I had great feedback from the majority of my parents, all of them actually.
And you may want to add, you gave the option. Parents
I
volunteered.
gave the option. I want to say I had 4 parents that were a little concerned. They came in, I met with them the very next day, within 24 hours. We talked about it, I gave them the option, I gave them time to think about it, and they decided on participating in the program. So I have 20 students that are participating this year.
Great. Thank you. Question?
Hi, I'm Elaine Del Deo. I live at 73 Ablehart Lane. I just have a few questions as well. I have been teaching in Tiverton. This is my 19th year. I currently teach kindergarten at Fort Barton. I've taught grade 1 several years, grade 2. I've taught all grades K to 4. I've looped a few times where I've taught first grade, then second grade. Currently, having kindergartners come in, they're all at different stages of development, and that's tough enough. Some can cut, some can't. I guess I feel very strong about being an advocate for these students. Even though I know that you have done this in the past, I worry social and emotionally for them.
Just for procedure, you're addressing the
Oh, yes.
the committee,
Okay,
not
yes,
the
okay.
end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I just worry about their social emotional growth because they're all at different levels and academically. And then planning one grade with several subjects, science, reading, then guided reading, math, writing, it's so intense for one grade. I'm just concerned, I guess, for the time the teacher would be doing 2 grades. Would they have double the plannings to prepare, and then is it all our science curriculum is done by grades, so are half the class going to be working on, I just don't know how one person would manage 2 grade levels when I struggle just with 1. So are the children going to be, like, let's say the second graders, are they going to be helping the first graders with their science curriculum. I'm just curious on how it's
So Dr.
going to be run.
Sanquioni, how have you seen this work in your districts?
I would say, science aside, and we can come back to that, as you know, as a teacher, you have multiple groups for math and language arts, so just, look at it that way, then essentially you have 20 students of various age, but you're making your groups based upon what the kids know and are able to do. So we're not holding kids back who may be able to progress faster, and we're certainly aiding those students who need extra help. So for math and language arts, it works beautifully. In the science part, it's going to take some manipulation by the teacher to get those grade-specific lessons done in a timely way because, as you've already identified, they are grade-specific. But certainly, it's just mapping out the day and the timing of that I think will help it work well. And certainly, we're here to support that teacher. If there's support needed in that classroom, we will provide it.
And is this a special program that people are going to be wanting to go into? Are you doing a study to see how these children do? You have a long-term plan to see how these children are going to progress in a few years? If it benefited them, if it didn't, is it something that people are going to want to apply for now and fight for? Do you have a long-term plan?
We're certainly going to track it longitudinally, and I think Deanna and I can both speak from our previous experiences with a lot of confidence that the students we've seen in these type of classrooms have progressed equal to or at a greater rate of student achievement than students in traditional grade classrooms. So I think this is a great pilot for Tiverton to take a good hard look at it and to see how it works here, and then to see what the opportunity is moving forward. So I don't want to alarm anyone to say that this is what we're going to do moving forward and so forth, but I think it's certainly executed in schools across the country with great success. I mean, this is not a new idea by any means,
Right.
and I certainly think it has great opportunity and potential.
I was just curious why it's something different for Tiverton, because in the past, we've always just opened up an extra classroom, and those are some of my favorite classes, the ones that have been opened up and had extra children. One last question. Would there be an extra person in the room, like an aide, to help assist? Because you have different specials, the kids have gym at different times, even gym class, art class. I'm just curious, the day, what it's going to look like for them.
So I'll take the aid question. So I alluded to that we
Yes.
would look at support for that classroom, so that's a possibility.
Okay.
I'll look to Ms. Riley to address if there's
There is
anything.
an aide in the classroom,
Okay.
and all the classes, it runs just like a regular classroom. The kids go to PE, science.
Together.
Yep, they all go to everything together. It's just differentiation.
Because I know sports, they've changed it where it's your birth year that you're playing, and
Well, that's-
so I guess I worry about that.
That's Tiverton Youth Soccer or
Yes.
Soccer
Yes,
USA.
I
That's
just
not,
worry.
it's not the,
Right. But I just worry because I've been in, my career is working with little young children, and now you've got children that, are super tall or really skinny and young, and you're mixing them
Yeah.
all together for all those things. It's
there's
just a big
certain-
concern.
Again, and, we kind of, when Dr. Sanquioni sort of outlined this to us, it is successful in other districts. There will be change.
That's why I wanted to
We'll
know
look
the
at it, we'll
follow-up,
monitor
because
it.
I want to know what successful
Yep,
means. I
yep.
want to see.
As do we.
Yes.
So, and it's, good points for sort of follow-up and to say, well, how did this work and how did it?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Madeline Odell from Warren Avenue.
Might want to get
I
closer
had-
to the mic.
I had researched a little bit, and specifically, I talked to people in Mansfield, Mass. That had the program like 8 years ago. Why don't you have it anymore? Well, everybody who were involved in it is gone now, so we can't ask them. Little Compton said at one time they did that. Don't do it anymore. So if it was so great, why do they all have it, try it, and discontinue it? Now, it's a Montessori method, kind of, sort of. That's kind of what they call it. And that usually follows from pre to 8th. This, we're talking about a 2-year situation. In the 3rd grade, these kids that are coming into 1st grade, in the 3rd grade, all of a sudden, wait a minute, we're not in that anymore. So I don't see the real big benefit if it's not going to continue. The other thing is, if you have a teacher that's one teacher, which we've alluded to and people have said, you have more work, not less. So one teacher, I don't know. And if that teacher has to go out on maternity leave, that's even worse, because then there's no continuity there. You're supposed to be with the same teacher for 2 years, but if she's not going to be there for a certain amount of time, you have to fill somebody in, I think that could be a potential horror show. So that's just my takeaway from it. And I think that it should have been done with calling the parents in and having a meeting or something like this, instead of just sending them an email and not letting them have questions answered and so on and so forth. I don't think it was implemented properly. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Hi, Renee Bond, East Road. I just want to ask, as you're tracking this,
You might want to get closer to the mic.
You're taller.
You're a little taller.
Yes. As you're
heels.
tracking it, that you make sure you look to the itinerants for some feedback, because we're kind of just being thrown into this music, art, PE, health. The second graders have already had our first grade curriculum. And I know myself, teaching music, I'm not going to create a third type of curriculum. My first graders need to do what all the other first graders are doing and learning. So a lot of my second graders are going to be getting a repeat. I mean, I always change up some of the music, but the skills are everything that's going to remain the same. So just please be sure you see how it worked out with us.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
How are you? David Paul, Warren Ave. I'm actually not surprised with the questions behind me, but it does put another thought in my head, which I'll get to another time. But I wanted to initially come up here and speak in favor of this. I have a son that's going to be in that classroom. I completely and fully trust the teachers at Picat's School, as well as the teachers here in the district. If there's some logistical things, that's out of my realm. But I think at this time, to be opposed to it is a little nonsensical and premature. So give it a shot, see how it goes. I fully trust the teacher that's going to be in the classroom. I fully trust that my son's able to handle it. But again, I understand the logistical stuff as well. So,
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Riley, Dr. Sanquioni, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, Mrs. Black.
Yes, when I spoke to Mrs. Odell, I told her that's what I did all during my career. You know, it was a while ago, but sometimes nothing changes but the date. First you reach the kids, and then you teach the kids. And what I saw is what they're saying. The ones that weren't doing that well came along, and they all rose together. That was my goal. I didn't want to hold anybody back, and that's how it ended up being. And I really love doing it, and I hope it works out here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is it too late to speak on that issue? No.
No, sure, go ahead.
Still on, Gloria. Thank you. I'm Gloria Christ. I live in Tiverton. I'm not going to talk about the program itself. I'm going to talk about the way it was handled, because I think it was a disgrace. Let's face it, Madeline Odell has never been a friend of our schools. She's not complaining about the school, she's complaining about the library. So to write a letter that was full of so many fabrications and so pointed at misinformation was a great disregard to our district and to our, my opinion, teachers and principals that work very hard to do the best they can for students who are learning. I hope, I don't think she's come forward to say what school committee members didn't know anything about this before putting it out there in the news media. But I hope this is not a precursor to, if teachers and if principals want to do something innovative, that someone who is opposed to our schools will not be sought out to write nasty letters and give it a bad stain. This is very disrespectful.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to item 8F, update on plans for first day of school. Dr. Sanquioni?
So, no surprise that orientations that were planned for fifth graders entering the middle school and the ninth graders entering the high school had to be delayed due to the construction, same issues we're speaking about. However, our principals have really thought hard about how to make this up to our students and create the best possible scenario from the circumstances we're currently facing. So I'd like to highlight for you both the middle school and the high school, what their plans are to welcome these students into the school. So Mr. Ashley's worked hard on an orientation plan for the incoming ninth grade students. I'd highlight 3 important parts of his plan here. First, the first day of school, it's going to be a truncated schedule for all the incoming ninth graders, and really will repeat what the orientation day would have done. The students are going to have a chance to find their locker, find their classes, have an extended homeroom, and so forth. That evening, Mr. Ashley is going to conduct an orientation night for the parents, similar to what the orientation day would have been. So on September 4th, we have a welcoming in for the incoming ninth grade students, an extended homeroom, a lot of activities to welcome those ninth graders that evening, an event for the parents, and there was also a special video that was created that's also online right now. So I think he took advantage of every opportunity to think this through and provide something, again, under tough circumstances for our students. And I would just echo this at the middle school. Principal Craven has done the same thing. She's going to welcome in the fifth graders with an extended morning activity for them, give them an opportunity to see the school, find their locker, get acquainted with their teachers and so forth. And then again that evening on September 4th at 4 o'clock, she's invited all the fifth grade parents into the middle school to take a tour, to answer any questions they may have. So again, taking a tough situation, I think really doing a good job with it.
Okay, thank you very much, and please extend our thanks to Ms. Craven and Mr. Ashley for being flexible and agile.
Thank you.
Item 9A, Newport County Tiverton Prevention Report. I believe Mrs. Black or Mrs. Elwell is going to give us just a little bit of update on their ongoing activities.
Just a very brief update as we look forward to the start of the school year. But going back a week, we had our federal site visit for the Drug-Free Communities Grant Program. We are just ending year 7 of 10 years of grant funding from the federal government, and this was the first time they ever chose to do a site visit. So you can imagine we were a bit nervous. We did not know what to expect. We had every potential question thought out and answered, and every document available. They didn't ask for any documents, and we had a really wonderful evaluator come and speak with us. The entire site visit was structured like a dialogue, which we were very grateful for. I want to thank Elisa Farr and Carolyn Mendes, and Carolyn in particular, for coming in on her vacation week to meet with the evaluator. They were both there willing to answer questions, and again, I think for them, it was an opportunity for this site evaluator to fill them in on information about the program rather than really looking through books or anything. They didn't ask for any financial documents. We really got rave reviews by the end of the day, and highly complimentary of Jenny as the coordinator and the programs that we're running. So that's a beautiful way to start this almost 8th year of that grant. Starting in the fall, we'll be doing the Who Am I Anyway program again as part of our underage drinking project. Gloria Christ has done that for the last 2 years. We'll do that again this year. If you remember, last year it was a performance by middle school students around the bullying topic. This year, because it will be somewhat organic, as Gloria leads the students through some of the activities, they'll determine what topic they really want to focus on. So it's kind of exciting to look forward to what that might be. The Tiverton Prevention Coalition, Newport County Prevention Coalitions are working together on a campaign called the Campaign to Change Direction, and it's primarily a mental health, social emotional project where we are helping young people and adults to be able to identify the 5 signs that someone is experiencing emotional distress, and particularly for our young people to be empowering them to speak up if they see something with one of their peers or a friend, or whether they're feeling something for themselves, helping them to know the appropriate helpers to go to talk with, but also for adults to be learning what signs to look for when somebody may be experiencing some distress. The flip side of that project is knowing the 5 healthy habits for emotional well-being. So it's encouraging relaxation, encouraging people to check in, knowing what to do when you're feeling emotional distress, who to reach out to engage with friends or family members and talk out some of the issues that you're experiencing. And it helps to give very concrete skills. So we've been developing some out-of-school time activities for families to engage in some of these things in a really fun way. It gives parents sort of the language to use when they're talking to their young children about some of these emotional issues. And so hopefully we're starting a culture and a conversation where families and friends are really comfortable having this conversation and limiting the stigma around mental health issues.
Jenny McNamee, coordinator for the Tiverton Prevention Coalition. Just 3 quick updates. We are going to have to revise Coalition Cafe this year. With the elimination of the weekly advisory period, we no longer have time to meet with the students. So Polly Allen and I are working on trying to figure out how we're going to make that happen. So once we have some ideas, we'll come to you. Our meetings begin September 17th. As of right now, they'll be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the public library, but we are looking to bring them back into the schools. And our grandparent support group has been running all summer. It's been going great.
Which meeting are you bringing back into the schools?
Our monthly meeting.
We don't allow private, nonprofit, or any outside groups to meet during the school day per policy. So that's why that probably got changed.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, because we were in the building for 16 years.
Education Foundation, Prevention Coalition, I mean, there's
Okay.
lots of really good, fabulous outside organizations.
Then
that
we'll just keep
because
them
of-
at the public library. That's fine. They'll be from 10 to 12. We've been meeting in the public library since was it November or January that you decided to have us move. So the grandparent support group is still running great. We have a good turnout for that. Just meeting once a month. Our next meeting is September 5th, 6:30 in the public library in the Learning Center.
The same thing, Jenny, with the weekly advisory, could you just meet with Superintendent Sanquioni just to see how that is going to work now that there's
Yeah.
not an advisory?
Yeah, the plan is we're going to,
How that can fit in?
once the school year starts, we're going to start figuring out how we can do that.
It wouldn't be Rebecca Elwell up here before you if I didn't say a word or two about Student Assistance Counselor Program. I try to fit it in every opportunity I get because in my time here, I've seen that very, very important program dwindle to the point where it's heartbreakingly been minimalized. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, if maybe you are all aware, that Edith Borden, after 19 years, resigned her position at the end of the school year in June. She actually had given a letter of resignation for the high school portion of her position, May 2016.
So, well, I think we're
To
getting into
17.
personnel issues.
Okay,
You can't really
so-
start to speak to
okay,
this.
so she's resigned. We're starting the school year without a student assistance position. I believe that an RFP will be submitted, if not has already. But I just want to keep it on your radar screen. We are starting without someone. Even at the best, most recent years, we've had 5 days a week. We used to have 9, 4 at the high school, 5 at the middle school. And in this time when social emotional concerns are really a daily conversation, I'm just hoping that we can work toward getting back to where we were when we were fully staffed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Mrs. Clark?
Rebecca, could you please do the Faith and Fire before you leave?
Faith and Fire.
Faith and
Yes, I kind of lost track of the timing, but sometime in the middle of the spring, the Tiverton Coalition, Portsmouth Coalition, Little Compton Coalition joined together to submit a Department of Health grant, which ultimately awarded each of the communities $5,000 to focus on addressing the opiate issues within the communities. The plans for each of the 5 communities were exactly the same, and each one received their own funding. The backbone of the grant that we submitted, we called Faith and Fire, because it was to engage our local faith communities in addressing the opiate crisis in the community, and also our fire departments. And although we had had some past success and experience working with our faith organizations in the community, the working with the fire departments was something a little bit new. Many of you may have heard of the Providence Safe Station project, which allows anybody walking in off the street to go into a Providence Fire Department and get help. All they need to go in and say is that they need help, and they are hooked up with either a mental health support person or a recovery coach who can help them get into some sort of substance use treatment program. We are trying to replicate that in a very small way in our local fire departments. It's really, besides the police department, it's the only 24/7 organization we have. We don't have mental health centers local that are 24/7. So we are working to get our local fire departments engaged in a project similar to Providence Safe Stations. The Captain Kenyon from Providence has come down, met with our fire chiefs in the 3 local communities, and we're really looking forward to seeing some progress with that. It may be a lifesaver for someone who, or many someones who walk into a local fire station looking for help and actually have that happen right away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Announcements, scheduled meetings? Anything?
I do want to just point out quick, in light of the fact that you are going to be talking with some contingent of the teachers, that if we do need to call an emergency meeting, it certainly would fall under open meetings for health, safety, emergency meeting. So we could give the less than 48 hours notice, just throwing it out there. We may not, if we need to. But just putting it out there, that I certainly think that would fall within that. My last announcement is gossip is toxic. Let's be better.
She said.
Okay. Any other announcements?
I just wanted to thank Crumblicious, the bakery that had the school resource officer, our new school resource officer, and the older one, for the day to meet all the kids, and they had a wonderful day together. Thank you very much. I love the local businesses supporting us in what we do. Thank you.
Okay. Have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?